everyone. My name's Chastity, aka the Luminary Luna Beams,
And I'm Emily, the fine art medium.
and we're two mediums that specialize in the paranormal. Our purpose is to shed light on what goes bump in the night. That's why we call this podcast YouTube channel
Lights of midnight.
Lamp.
Bing!
So, why is my voice this way? Because Chastity has had a cold all week, but I'm feeling better. I just look like crap. So, y'all get to stare at this super awesome snatched picture of my chin and the little power coming out of my finger rather than my crusty, dusty butt. So, you're welcome. Okay.
You're
And
getting
yeah,
you're getting down with the sickness.
ooh, yeah, I could
Yeah.
probably do it a lot better right now with my raspies. But yeah, guys, today Emily and I really reached out like maybe like 8 hours ago and asked the internet, our followers, our awesome, super awesome folks, for some questions because we wanted to do kind of a spiritual, paranormal, or personal even questions we were opening to answer. So we just checked. We got several of them in. Some folks sent in more than one question, which is fine because we needed them on the fly. We're going to get to as many of them as possible tonight. But yeah, I think we've got quite a few very interesting questions that me and Emily are going to answer. Generally, the way that we do this is we take turns answering each question, or we pass it over to the next person if think that they may have a better answer or experience. And if there's anything the other wants to add at the end of the question, we also add our opinion as well. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it, Emily.
Yepper doodle schnooks. So, should we just roll into the first question?
Yeah, I think we should.
So first question is by True Blue Dots, and I'll put the questions up on the screen somewhere. Now, their question is it a person's mindset during life or by death that keeps them bound to a place? I can understand trauma situations creating negative energy, which can become something else over time and possibly a loop type situation. How does one help spirit get out of that if and when they are asking for help? So, this is kind of like a multifaceted question here, but we will do our best to answer them. So, I feel like it is a person's mindset when they're alive that can get them to a point of whether or not they cross over or not. And depending on this mindset, typically it's a mindset that's, I would say, kind of lower in vibration in terms of wanting to stick around for 3D earthly reasons. And that could be like material possessions, family members not wanting to leave them. Um, what else? I know I'm missing a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a mindset thing. If you think about like NDEs, near death experiences, you'll notice something I've noticed about watching them is that a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I'd say about 80% of the people that ended up in a hellish landscape during their NDE ended up like they had a Christian background. At some point in their life, they had heard the gospel or they were highly Christian and got away from it. There have been cases of like atheists and people that didn't believe, but they have been exposed to their belief system. So, and I'm looking at the question again. If is it a person's mindset during life or death? It's something else over time. So, another thing I would like to say, I mean, Emily might agree with this about it, is like this is the side that I normally don't like to talk about because this rarely ever happens, but it's possible. It's not always the whole human soul either. Sometimes it's just the traumatized parts. You get these fractured pieces of souls. So you can fracture off your soul through traumatic events and like super dark things that's either experienced individually or with a group of people. And like the piece of your soul literally falls away because it's so dense and it's so heavy, but it's still a manifestation of you and a part of your soul that literally can be left behind as well, even though your whole soul ascends to a higher realm. And this is just something I've learned over time that's been told to me through spirit, and I've had it validated a couple times with other mediums. Actually, I've only heard only other one set of mediums talk about this. I'm sure other people have. But there are also mediums that specialize in the paranormal. Not going to say any names because just for reasons, but yeah, sometimes those fractured pieces of souls can actually be taken and held here in a earth-like darker dimension, or in what I refer to personally as a spiritual liminal space by a darker entity. So literally a piece of somebody can actually be taken to a hellish, quote unquote, I'm doing the quotations, landscape as well. Um, so, it's not just above and below. That is, it's a lot. Most people really do ascend to the light. Then you have middle vibration too. Middle vibration is where you're trying to work out your stuff. Like some people are sent to the dark. I see human spirits there sometimes, when I just have visions, they actually come visit me. And a lot of times these human spirits, and I'm not 100% sure if it's their whole soul or just part of their soul, but they literally can manifest into really darker things. That's where you get into like descended human spirits. So yeah, over time, Emily, you probably want to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, depending on where they are in their healing journey, especially when they're passed over or crossed over, but not like into the light, like if they're just earthies, a lot of them will go through a healing transition and that will raise their vibration up until they ascend to the light.
Yep.
And so it all depends on where they are in that journey of theirs too. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of healing that takes place. And I know through their, I forget what it's called. It's when the ascended beings show them like the things that happen in their life. It's like their life review. And so they'll take them through that journey as a part of their healing, and it's like they'll learn their lessons and healing lessons from there. And that's when they start climbing and climbing until they ascend.
Yeah, there's so many different possibilities because you have whole souls, fractured souls, different life paths. I mean, it's just so complex, and we kind of just jumbled it all together with different scenarios. So definitely a very multifaceted question. But ultimately, yeah, mindset plays a lot. But we also have this is what I've been told to say, just like literally right now. Even no matter the life that you live, forgiveness is there. It's not a huge judgment thing from what I've take of what I understand and what I've seen, what I felt. So I mean, just because you've done some bad things, in my personal opinion, doesn't mean you're going to burn in a lake of fire forever and ever. Matter of factly, some people start falling through the dark and then they're caught by a light being and they're literally taken to a higher vibrational place. So, it just depends. Like people that, there's a lot of stuff about people that, exit on their own terms about whether they go to the light or middle vibration. It's literally up to the individual soul and the purpose that they had here as well. So,
Yep. And it's their decision. They have that freedom of like, say, oh my God, I can't even English today. Free will decisions of if they want to cross over or not or heal. And based off of those decisions will also depend where they end up.
yep. So, and I mean, most people end up going to the light in some form or fashion. And the light, quote unquote, heaven or higher vibrational realms is vast. Keyword, there's an S on the end of realms. There's different places. So it's just a very, very interesting thing. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that pretty much sums up that question.
Yep. So the next question I'll read. Um, if a haunted building is demolished, what happens with the entities, or are they tied to the land after that? And this is also by True Blue Dots 4776.
All right. You want me to talk about that one?
Um, I mean, I can answer that
Okay.
pretty
I got an
simple.
experience to share after.
Okay. Well, I was gonna use was it Hell the Hell House? No, no, no. it was Demon House that Zach Bagel Bites investigated and got all messed up in the eyes. He demolished that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll use that for my example anyway. The energy's still there, whether you demolish it or not. Energy typically still lasts and lingers. And like you can also use Native American tulpas or thought forms that have been created long, long, long time ago to help fight their wars and stuff. That's why you have hauntings over lands, and they can be really tricky. And especially if they haunt a person's house and it's from the land and yeah. But yeah, they can linger.
Yeah. It's like a stain.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. I agree with that. And I mean, still though, it's a situational thing because it depends on what you're dealing with that's haunting the place and what that haunting or that spirit or whatever it may be is attached to. So if it's strong enough to create like a portal, for example, yeah, the land is definitely going to be tainted. But something to remember about land is Mother Earth regenerates unless it's just too much and it's stained by human will and influence. But if it's like if there's something in the house that you're not aware of that maybe like a that could be classified as a haunted object, if you remove that and you remove the building and the building gets tore down, then the haunting should absolve itself because you have to figure out where the origin's coming from. So there's an example of how, like, if you do tear down a building and it's attached to an object on the inside of the building or even a room, yes, it can. But if the situation or the entity, whatever it may be, strong enough to portal itself, because the word vortex came up, and create some type of liminal space, the land is probably definitely stained. And it's a lot of times it's residual energy too that can do it. But it can be dealt with for sure.
Yep, you said what I was gonna say about the residual, because residual tends to stick around too.
Yep. Especially with like buildings where, okay, I was going to use Bobby Mackey's as an example. Like they're actually trying their best to, because where I visited Bobby Mackey's, shameless plug. If you guys don't know, my paranormal channel, our Appalachian Nightmare, I went to Bobby Mackey's like 2 weeks before they shut down for good, to my knowledge, and they started demolishing part of the building. They're trying to keep the basement frame, part of the basement walls. And by keeping that cement and keeping the walls and as high as the EMF there was in that building, I guarantee, and we covered this even on Lights at Midnight. We did videos about Bobby Mackey's. So check out our Bobby Mackey's videos here. Emily can put the tags up at the top of the screen, and then definitely check out the investigation that I did because it was absolutely insane what we captured there. That's a great example too because they're actually keeping parts of the building for the most part, or they're going to try to. And then there was something else I was going to say, but it slipped my mind and it was a good one. Dang it. If I remember, I'll bring it up. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for that one.
I forgot with the Zach Bagel Bites Demon House one. So he demolished it, but remember how they had found things dug in the basement, like when they were digging it up? So that
Uh
was
huh.
like in the dirt of the
Mm-hmm.
basement. So if you're just taking out the house and you're not paying too much attention to the land it's sitting on, especially the part where they buried stuff,
Yeah.
definitely it's gonna stick around.
100%. Oh, I remember when I went to Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, my last investigation, the D block was built on top of the death house. And that was where the death house was a part of the older prison where they would keep the inmates that passed away until the family or someone claimed the body. And there was like sometimes hundreds of people in that death house. And they tore the death house down and built D block over top of it. And the prisoners that would stay in D block, and even though it was a new building, said they would see like men just walk through the walls. Like it was, and that's like a residual thing. And I caught some very interesting photos in that investigation too. I'll actually send one to Emily to post up right here of something that was just very interesting. There's one photo that really energetically stood out to me. It's definitely worth a look at about residual energy in a building that's no longer there with a new one on top of it too. So that'd be cool.
Hmm. Do you want to read the next one?
Um, I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, I got you. So again, True Blue Dots 4776. Spirits usually make spaces cold. What does it mean if it's the opposite? Spaces get hot. Does that always mean something bad or just that particular energy's energy? Okay, so kind of another multifaceted question for, well, it's not that your question was multifaceted, but the answer is it doesn't always mean things are bad. Sometimes spirit can come in and make you hot. So it would be about how you perceive energy. There's a catalyst involved in this. Some people that are sensitive will experience things a little bit different. So, like, everybody can feel the cold spots, possibly hot spots, even if you're not sensitive. But I'm thinking, like, if you're experiencing different sensations, the catalyst might be the individual and the spirit itself trying to make itself known. So, divine spirit can make things hot as well. And it's usually, though, from my experience, when it's like a lot of flowing, loving energy. But if you're in like a place that's like spooky haunted and you start feeling hot energy, a lot of times that does mean something bad. Generally, or you're picking up on some type of residual energy from that space. So the cold and hot spots doesn't always have to be an entity either. So that's pretty much my analysis on that.
Hmm. Usually, when you have cold spots, it's the energy being taken out of the air. But I agree with you, Chastity, about hotspots. It depends on the context of the situation. It could be residual. Let's say there was a fire 300 years ago. It could again be a entity or spirit trying to get your attention. I've actually had it where similar, not exact, but I've had hot like touches. Like it wasn't like nasty or anything. It was just like somebody touching my arm and it felt like a warm hand and I was like, "Oh, hi." And it was
Yep.
just weird. But yeah, so I'm clairsentient. So if you're someone that's clairsentient, that might be something that's also contextual and how you're picking up energies and what your mediumship key is. So for me, if I feel that warm touch, I know it's something positive, but that's my definition. It could be something different for other people. Um, and then it depends too on the type of hot, because you can have like, oh, warm touch, but then you can also have, oh my God, my hand or whatever, the air is on fire, like that's hot. Then
Yeah.
yeah, if it's got any kind of like level of pain to it,
Yeah.
probably not good.
Yeah. Unpleasant, not good.
Yep.
Yeah. And it will come by other feelings too. Like you'll just know in your gut what you're dealing with. Like
Yep.
it's just part of human nature. You don't have to be sensitive to figure that one out either.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's literally something we all have. And I think we got one more question by True Blue Dots 4776. How would one methods to protect self before and after investigating or before going or leaving a cemetery to be safe, that nothing follows, and to cleanse the equipment, etc.? Is prayer really enough? It can be enough if your intentions are enough. I mean, prayer is the first thing. We've talked a lot about spiritual protection methods. To sum it up, and we can also let me write a note down with that because we'll put some spiritual protection videos in the description box. Um, because we have ones on our own channel and we have some on here that are a bit shorter too. But we'll put those in there. But yeah, definitely get your spiritual practices and routines together. So holy oil, holy water, saging, crystals is a great way. Yeah, I like to keep like a black tourmaline with me a lot on investigations. I like to bring like a little case, like with the things I just said. Sometimes mugs work. Like I have different things. I bring a white candle. So it's really just about getting you a little spiritual thing together. If you feel like prayer is enough, then that's all you need. But then we have these tools. It's not the tools themselves that make it to where it's safe. It's that intention that you put behind it. So Does the crystal have energy? Yes, but you have to actually like activate that with your intention. The sage, does it clear? Yes, but you're activating it with your intention. So you can kind of through those kind of, I do have a short video that I can post again in the description box that'll give, it's like 21 minutes and it goes through all that. Emily might have one. We can put them both in there, or you can check out our full spiritual protection video to kind of be able to build an idea of what it is that you want to do. But I definitely wear crystal jewelry. I definitely bring holy water and holy oil. And I always take my holy water and I put it over my third eye after I leave the place. Because you want to go in there protected when you're investigating, in my opinion, but you still want to break down some of those barriers if you want to get good information. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the way I do it, because if I go in there fully protected, ain't nothing going to do nothing, or it's going to try to do something, it's going to find out really fast. So I mean, it's just, you there's a level of protection that you may want to offer, but just having that prayer and the belief in the divine, higher power is one of the most important things that you can have. And it's the very first thing, in my opinion, that you should have for spiritual protection. But more information will be in the description box below.
Yep, you pretty much said everything in that one.
Yeah, I figure I'd go ahead and finish off these questions because I know we got a few more, Emily.
Yep. So we got one by Wilma Harrison. Do you guys think that a person's open mindset makes that person more vulnerable to witnessing different events, such as, say, seeing an actual UFO, Bigfoot, having an out-of-body experience, and also seeing an actual apparition? I myself have encountered all of the above, but I always wondered why. So I feel like having an open mindset in general will lead a person to have, I would say, more likely lead a person to have more paranormal experiences, but that's not necessarily always true. I think it also depends. It's like a case by case thing. And I can use myself as an example. Like, I was somebody who didn't believe in this stuff, very scientifically oriented. However, I, at the time, was vulnerable mentally and had gone through my own traumas that the paranormal stuff kind of found their way in to terrorize and antagonize me. So I think it depends, but I feel like a person is more likely to experience stuff like that if they're open to the idea.
Yep, I agree. I'm going to take this moment to talk about like the side eye guy and the people that comment. Like the people that don't believe in this stuff, they're more closed minded to it because they think it's fairy tales. That's their opinion, that's their perspective. Perspective is everything. So if you have a different and that's okay. We need people not to believe. That's what makes the world go around, because everybody's different. That's what makes us unique. But like perspective and perception is everything. So you might experience things you don't understand and still be closed mind to it and be like, no, I didn't see that. You're convincing yourself that you didn't see it. And this is outside of mental illness. This we're talking about true blue, paranormal, supernatural, preternatural experiences. So yeah, I mean, and also too, depending on your soul's journey and the purpose, um, certain people are meant to encounter things. So like when I first played with the Ouija board at 12, I didn't believe I was like 90 per maybe 85% sure like this ain't going to work, but 15% of me was like maybe it will, maybe it is bad or whatever. I did it because I was like nah, not happening, and I effed around and found out, and what is not a good choice. And we played with it multiple times, but my perception changed really fast. Uh, but yeah,
Mhm.
definitely if and if you're more sensitive even without knowing it, like Emily, something activated Emily, like probably in her astrology and part of her life's purpose to have that perception and those thoughts. So for example, since she used that example, so that kind of happens to people too. But yeah, a skeptic, they could have it thrown right in front of their face, for example, and they'll deny it even though they may believe it. They can't allow themselves to, because that goes against everything they believe.
Hmm. I would say too, like for someone who has an open mind, I feel like those people are going to be more aware of potential things or have like an idea of things to look out for since they do believe in this stuff, that they'll be more receptive to noticing like repeating numbers or certain patterns, signs, and symbols.
Yeah, and that in my opinion too would be dependent on their base level knowledge. So it's all about what you learn because we are creators. Like certain goes back to the thought form episode. Like we can create things too. So yeah, definitely a lot of things included, a lot of answers you could have to this question as well.
Hmm. All right. Next question by Ethan Vang 11. Can an elemental spirit reside in a Native American land that is sacred or ancient? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, they work. So Native Americans work with a lot of elemental spirits in general. They work with the elements. So they're naturally there. They like you have your dryads and stuff that are already there in the land, anyways, elemental spirits. But where the Native Americans work, that would be ancient, like a dryad, tree spirit. That would be considered ancient. Sacred, according that would be to the individual. Like a Native American has a sacred elemental that they work with, depending on the tribe and their beliefs. So it's hard to say. Like you have to get down to really find the answer with the Native American situation, the indigenous people. You really have to get down to their belief systems in this because every tribe believes something a little bit different. But yeah, they work with the elemental spirits. They're in touch with the earth. So it's both sides, sacred and ancient, depending on what it is. So the elemental spirits that have been here since forever, I mean, can't really put a time frame on that. The sacred ones would be sacred to the actual tribe themselves, 100%. Oh, we got one more from True Blue Dots 4776. I can answer this pretty fast. Why do spirits always say get out or help? Well, um, it's an interesting question because going on paranormal investigations, they really do say that a lot because help means like you have an earthbound spirit, either whole spirit or fractal of a spirit that cannot find the light. They miss that opportunity. And they're literally stuck in that cycle, in that space. They may see it similarities like in present day, but we have to understand that it's a different dimension, it's a different time, if it's a different space. I always use the analogy that I was given, which is like a book. They're in the same book but on a different page, and sometimes they get stuck there. Sometimes these, again, this is what we said earlier, sometimes it's something else holding them there. And then the get out is some spirits or entities don't want to be talked to. They don't want you prying in, their stuff. They don't want you there. It depends on what you're talking to. It can be a human spirit. It could be, and it doesn't have to be a descended human spirit or a spirit that needs help that says get out. They might just not want you around, or it could be something else that doesn't want you there, depending on why you're there and what your intentions are. So, I have found on my paranormal investigations, I get help a lot. I actually have it on video where there's literally spirits asking me for help. They would literally at Brushy Mountain, it said, the light, Chastity, help me like to the light. And I was sending light out actually right before we left because that was the last time I was going to be in the hole that night, or at Brushy Mountain probably ever again, unless I decide to do a day tour because I can't afford to go back because it was a lot of money to investigate there, and we had to go with 10 people. But yes, I have had spirits even at Bobby Mackey's. Actually, I've actually had another spirit say the light, and say my name. That's the second time I've had that happen because I've crossed spirits over before. So pretty interesting and a good question.
Hmm. Well, when I was at Fort Mifflin, I had one male earthy say, get out. And then at some point, then he said, that man hurts people. So it could also be like a warning to help you, especially if those things know there's things there that can hurt you.
Yep, I agree with that. So Yep, not all spirits that you come in contact with that will communicate with you that are truly spirits and not just like coincidences. It depends on what type of apps you're using too. Like if you're using apps, you can get a spirit on there that will like really like be conscious and sentient and connect with you through that app. But I have found some of the best information comes from an actual spirit box. Like the apps are cool, don't get me wrong, or even the necrophonic. The spirit box, like where it scans to the radio stations, the necrophonic works just like that. That's my preference. I mean, there's a lot to dig through. It's not as straightforward. Brief side note, I understand now why paranormal investigators use more of like their phones and like stuff like that because I'm gonna tell you something. When you're in a dilapidated building, okay, that's either really super hot or really super cold, depending on whatever time of year, and you're lost in the maze of an asylum, the last thing you want to do is carry 100 pounds of equipment with you. So I understand why a lot of people just bring their phones because it's more convenient because you're carrying a camera, you're carrying a light, but we do carry as much of equipment as we possibly can. And because we like to do different things within our means at this time. But yeah, I just thought that was funny because people get a lot of flack for just using their phones, but I'm gonna tell you something right now. It's hard. Paranormal
Also,
investigation seems a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun, but it's not easy. So don't let nobody tell you
it's
otherwise.
expensive too, some of the equipment.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I think the one, that spirit box I had gotten you, at the
Mm-hmm.
time it was like $40, but now it's like $100.
I noticed that. That's crazy. Yeah, it's the SB7. And yep, I shouted out Emily in my first video. I was like, I told everybody because she did me a solid when I started investigating. Because we may have one by now, but this is our sixth location. We're actually going to Trevette Clinic tomorrow, and I thank God I'm not contagious anymore. I don't feel the best, but I'm going to try my best to make the best video possible because there's been some and I don't know a whole lot about this place, just a little bit, but there's been some really cool captures at this place. It's not on the map as much as you would think, but I know Paranormal Quest has been there and a couple other people, but this place is definitely amazing.
It's interesting though, the timing. You're going to a clinic and now you're sick.
I know. And that I was thinking about that either today or last night about how that may add to like a trigger object. So I'm going to be using myself and V as a trigger object. I'm gonna have
Hmm.
V lay down on the couch, like, help, help. We'll see what happens. Because they actually have furniture here. This place is clean, it's not dilapidated or anything like that. And there's like rooms, there's like a sectional couch that's really comfortable that my big tail will be like laying down on, meditating and like really trying to tap in because it's just gonna be me and V. So I'm doing everything I can to feel a lot better. So we can do this tomorrow. I'm excited.
Spirit is telling me to tell you that you need to do the Estes method there because
Absolutely.
your energies, because you're both sick, will help.
Yeah. I think it's going to be amazing. We definitely will. And I'm going to make him bring the headphones this time because he forgot, bless his heart, last time when we were at Brushy Mountain. So definitely going to do a session. I'm excited to see. I'll send you some stuff when I get it, Emily.
Hell yeah. All
All
right.
right.
Next question is by Megan Maliki. So, how do you improve your discernment? That's a good question. I mean, I feel like there are multiple ways you can improve your discernment. And I always repeat the same stuff over and over again because that's how I learned. But documenting all your experiences down in a journal, whether you're getting experiences through meditation or through dreams or astral realm experiences, if you can go back into the notes and analyze your experience, it'll help you understand like your reaction, how you felt, what was going on, to then be able to contribute, or not even contribute, but to say whether or not that thing you came into contact with was negative or positive. But so you can do it through just field experiment. Oh my God. You can do it through field experience. You can do it through meditation. You can ask your guides to give you that information, or have you have or bring on more experiences or practice, um, research. You can go through different cases and see other people's experiences, how they reacted. I mean, there's quite a number of ways. You can use cards, my cards specifically when they come out. Shameless plug. Okay. Anyway, you can I mean, there's so many things you can do.
100%. Yeah, I mean, pretty much that. Practice makes perfect validation. Some people are born with a lot of discernment, and some people have to really earn it. It depends on how, like, tapped in your hand. First and foremost, build your relationship with your creator. Build your spirituality up. Build your relationship with spirit, divine spirit. And then learn your psychic strong suits, which I do with astrology. So a lot of people come to me to help look into what their psychic, like how they perceive energy. So I'm really big on teaching that. That's part of a direction I'll be headed to that I already do, but I think I'm going to do it on a different level starting next year. But learning that is really good, and practice makes perfect, and validation's everything. I agree with that.
I was gonna say too, like find a buddy you can rely on. Like if you can mentor under somebody that is legit, I feel like that is very helpful because maybe they can explain your experiences and maybe walk you through certain things. I know like Megan and I, we pretty much talk on a regular basis, pretty much every single day. And like she'll share experiences and be like, so what do you think? And then I'll share my opinion on like what I feel. And I feel like that too is very helpful if you can find somebody that you trust that is very knowledgeable.
100%. And that's part of it, the validation part and sharing experiences. That's kind of how, me and Emily built all this too.
Hmm.
That's how
Yeah.
we built. That's kind of how that right there is exactly how everything started, actually.
Yeah. I
So it's
mean,
really important.
without your guidance with like my strong suits and my abilities, I don't think I'd be where I am right now, honestly, because I was having all these experiences and I couldn't understand them thoroughly because I wasn't understanding how I was receiving them.
And I appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely was interesting um, to be able to like come in on the situation and have everything happen. And in turn, it helped both of us grow because it helped my teaching abilities grow, and it helped you understand how to understand your discernment.
Hmm.
So it was kind of a two-way street there because it helped me learn how to teach. It was crazy. Well, see, me and Emily, even though Emily's clair cognizant and I'm clair cognizant, we have everybody has all the clairs. It's not about that. It's about what your strong suits are. So, in learning how to discern that, it takes time, but that's the kind of information that you just don't, it's hard to understand without having somebody sit down that knows what they're doing to tell you how to do it. Because you can look it up for yourself, but unless you have a teacher, it's not as easy. It takes a longer time. I will say that. And that's not me trying to say, hey, give me a fucking text or nothing here. That's just being honest. Like you have to have somebody that has experience to really get you there faster. If you want to do it on your own, 100% you can. And you might get there. I mean, you may be blessed. It may be part of your, what you're meant to do in your path. Don't get me wrong, but it does help to have a mentor or a teacher. Um, or hands-on experience. Like a lot of my stuff and Emily's stuff is hands-on experience, but the mentors I've had have been for astrology. The other stuff is just like being clairsentient or claircognizant, just knowing things and then watching them get validated. I think that's one of the craziest things about having clairsentience or activating clairsentience is that right there. It's just
Hmm.
like, I don't know why I'm thinking this. What do you think?
Exactly.
I don't know why I have the back of my neck burning. Oh, well, this person fell to their death and broke their neck. Oh, it's like, it's crazy.
Hmm. There's another question by Megan. So she has, how do you know if you're channeling when watching a movie, video, reading, etc. How do you channel and how do you channel safely? Okay. There are many different ways in which you can. I always say meditation, and people are like, but I can't meditate and whatnot. But okay, let's take it back to psychology for a second. If you're someone who studied psychology, there's a term called flow. And essentially, what that means is whether you're meditating or doing any kind of activity, and it's like when you're so focused on that activity that you don't realize that time is like passing by you, and it's like you started at like 1 o'clock and now it's like 4 p.m. and you're like, oh my God, how did it get there? It's like that kind of it's like that in a way, but you can do it during meditation. And I mean, it's just like having your intention of what you're trying to do and trying to get that answer. And like when you're going through it, that's what it feels like. I mean, that's the best way I can compare it is that feeling, but you're getting information through whether it's visions,
Yeah.
um, cognizantly or audiently. That's what it feels like to me,
Yeah.
anyway.
I agree with that. Yeah, however you perceive things psychically, like for me, where of the longest time I would just know things about people and they would just come to me out of nowhere. It didn't always come with visions, but sometimes I would have visions and I thought that was normal. I thought that was a normal way of thinking about things until I really like because it's like what I just said, but when you're growing up, you everybody thinks differently, does things differently. And it's like for example, where I had bad back problems I didn't know about for the longest time until I was 25. I would come home from work, I could barely bend over, my back was hurting, but I grew up watching my dad come home from work and say, just wait till you go to work. Everything hurts. And I'm like, well, I thought that was normal, so I never got it checked out. Right. It's the same thing. It's like, oh, I'm sitting here. If you're watching something and you start getting information, with any of the clairs, that's how you know. So learning your clairs is very important. And that's how you start to understand how to tell the difference, which leads into discernment.
How do you channel safely?
Uh, uh, I just always ask for divine guidance. Like it always starts with me, my spiritual practice. It always starts with asking for help from above. And I mean, it depends on what you're channeling. If you're trying to channel, like me and Emily do, because look, the paranormal psychic mediumship is just one perspective. That's what me and her both started out with. But if I'm sitting here trying to channel somebody's past relative, it's totally different energy. So it depends on what you're channeling to begin with. So if it's all with paranormal stuff, you just have to know you're protected. You call in the white light, like whatever spiritual practices and routines that you have set up. Again, you can build your own. We're going to link some videos. We encourage everybody to do that. It's different for everybody. It's also based on your, religious standpoint or spiritual standpoint. I mean, whichever you choose. But yeah, I mean, it just depends on what you're trying to channel. Never ever have I had issues unless the person that I'm channeling for has an attachment that's unsafe.
Hmm.
When I'm channeling the divine, nothing else normally comes in. But when I'm channeling darker stuff, I've been physically attacked, spiritually attacked, and it just comes with knowing what you're capable of in practice. But it's also good to set up those spiritual practices and routines and just know that they're going to work. Because if you don't believe they're going to work, well, then you're just losing part of your quote unquote shield, like a video game. You're starting
Hmm.
out with a 50% shield instead of
Hmm.
100% shield.
Hmm. I also want to add too, like, if you're channeling darker, like for darker information, like the paranormal side of things. So, because I'm very clairsentient, I get a lot of like body things, like I'll feel pains and stuff. So for me, my Reiki guy, he taught me like building up my shield first before like even focusing on paranormal stuff, making sure I'm surrounded by the light or rainbow energy or whatever your shield or armor looks like. I'm very like visual, so I imagine myself putting on like armor and putting it on like catcher's gear
Right.
and then, you know, doing that and then having my energy aura thing surround me too and then channel like the darker things. But I also sometimes will have like a white candle going too, just as like
Mm,
an extra thing.
yeah.
Um, and even if you're not technically channeling for darker information or like channeling darker energies or looking for information in that area, but your house is haunted and you just don't want to be affected negatively, I mean, that should help you. And
Yeah.
then if you're channeling like the divine stuff, your spirit guides and whatnot, typically, you can still do the same thing just to be safe. But like you said, Chas, I don't ever have anything negative happen when I'm channeling benevolent things or for benevolent reasons like that.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
so, yeah, because it's a different type of energy and it's a different source.
Yep.
So you're not going to have a lot of those issues unless the person has an attachment or something going on.
Yeah, 100%. And every one of my sessions start with a white candle. Anytime, and I can light a white candle and it means something different. So at nighttime, sometimes I just light a white candle to keep my space area and open, and it helps me have light because I like it's like my night light sometimes, but it also purifies the energy in the room as I sleep. And then sometimes, even when I light my white candles, I do those for sessions as signifying that I'm open and ready to receive information. That's part of the channeling thing. And I wanted to just say a statement back on like the shield. It's very commonly known by people, especially if you've ever read the Bible, as the armor of God. That is a very real thing. The
Mhm.
armor of God. There's you can Google it. I don't know the exact phrasing. It is good to actually Google that to understand like the armor of God is a very, very real thing. And it's part of what protects us because it comes from a divine source. So
Mhm. All right, so we have one more question by Megan, and she wrote, "How often do you cleanse if you're a psychic medium or a sensitive person or someone who loves exploring the occult and paranormal?"
well, that was so like if what we have learned working cases separately and together, I recommend if you're a person that is open and you're not having paranormal activity once a month or around, like I work with the lunar phases. So it's really good to cleanse on the new moon. And if you want to do it again on the full moon, that's great too, because we put our crystals out to charge them. That's cleansing them. So you can do it on a biweekly basis in different phases and stages. You can get really creative with it. But if you're having paranormal issues, we always recommend starting out once a week on the same day. That's good for you and make it a habit. Habits create energy, which it's literally a thought form, but it's a thought form in a good way. So I would recommend if you're just a person that doesn't have paranormal issues to definitely work around the lunar phases. And even if you are having paranormal issues, working around the lunar phases is still not a bad idea. But if that's not possible and you're not privy on that, then definitely do it once a week. And then we ask people to go down to once a month. So it just depends on the situation like that you're in. But for your spiritual practices and routines for a intuitive person not having any issues, definitely do it at least once a month. And if you're comfortable, because you're going to be doing different things like clearing your space, so yeah, maybe once a month or once every 3 months if things feel great. Sometimes we recommend 4 times a year, but you're going to be cleansing different things and tools. So like if you're using cards and stuff and you're using them for multiple people, I like to clear those with smoke or light or crystals or all three, like depending on what I got going on. So if you're just talking about your space, yeah, like once a month. But if you're channeling in for a lot of people as a psychic medium, you definitely want to cleanse your tools and, all that kind of good stuff. But house cleansings once a month, once every 3 months, depending on what you got going on.
I 100% agree. If you're clairsentient like me and you're not someone that has like paranormal activity, you might want to do it twice a month. But
Yeah.
if you're not having anything and it's really chill and it's just to be energetically sanitary. I think once a month is perfect.
Yeah.
And it also like Chas said, like depending on what you're doing, tarot cards between clients, I use my Palo Santo stick smoke and I will cleanse all my cards after each session or before every new session. That's
Yeah.
just because objects hold energy, as you know, because we talk about it all the time. Um, if you're doing readings, yeah, definitely in between sessions. If you're doing a paranormal case, you want to do it after paranormal case. That's
Yeah.
my that's my recommendation.
And for me, where I light that candle, I allow that candle to absorb because I have it on like an altar that I've set up based on what I was channeled in. And based off certain principles that I personally use, I think that's significant to everybody. Like, however they set up stuff like that, it's very personal. So I don't share every detail unless it's somebody I'm really close to because that's just my personal way of doing it. But I will say that that candle, I cleanse myself a lot of times too. So I'll burn either sage, Palo Santo, and even lavender. Love the smell of lavender. Um, Especially if I have anxiety, then I want to burn a piece of lavender on myself, and I waft it with actually a little broom. It's like one of those I can't remember the name of it, but I have like a little mini broom that actually smelled like cinnamon when I got it. And it's like a old timey country store thing where you tie a bunch of like it's not pine needles, but it's like clippings. It's like really vintagey looking. I love it. So I clear
Hmm.
the energy out from around myself too.
Hmm.
Because if you're working as a practicing psychic medium, that's one thing. And then as I'm doing the energy. If I'm doing a paranormal case, unless I start having issues, I don't necessarily clear my house personally. And that's just what works for me. But again, what works for me is going to be different for everybody else. It's something you really just have to kind of do over time and see what works for you. And
Hmm.
just base it off of like those spiritual practices and routines in the description box below. Just that's why we've made these types of videos so you can kind of figure it out and make it personal. Again, you're creating a positive thought form around the situation in a way. That's an example. A thought form is just a thought until it turns into something else. But the more that you work towards that thought, right? And it's positive, great energy, the bigger it grows too, which is very light and airy and it ascends up and it works amazing.
Hmm. I also want to add too, like, I'm similar to you where it depends on the case. If it's like really heavy or bad, I will do my space. But I've been doing more of like the bads for myself, not so much as the house, unless like I said, it's for something really like bad.
Right.
And typically that's been working. And I've noticed like I've been able to go longer in between cleansing my entire space without having any issues. And I think the more you get, like the better you get, the longer it'll last in between as well.
Well, and two, it's because you're the conduit.
Mm.
So it depends on how well the individual transmutes the energy. So like we've talked about this openly, so it's not like me saying anything about Emily, but it took Emily a little bit longer where she was clairsentient, and it's a common thing, a common denominator I have found in people that are highly clairsentient where they have a harder time transmuting energy than other mediums or psychics. So the baths, like I take a regular shower. Emily actually was really sweet and sent me a like a negativity cleansing bar. She said my butt stank and I need to cleanse it. No, I'm kidding. But I've used that before, but like spiritual baths, I've actually never done one. But I just take a regular shower too. So if you're not a big, if you don't want to go through all that, it works for me. But Emily's clairsentient, so she's got to where she's learned how to transmute energy out, and it's something that can be said, but it's something that I'm not going to sit here and say it's something that can't be taught because it is, but it's still just a feeling because everybody's different. So, like, where we're the conduit to that information, I'm clairsentient. It's in my thoughts, right? Emily, it's coming through her body first. So, if y'all have ever watched any of the cases me and Emily have done together on here, you'll notice that I might come in. Emily will say, I get this feeling in my body. That's clairsentient. For me, I just get this knowing or this vision first that kind of go hand in hand. They all work together, Emily gets visions and stuff too, but it's generally not the first thing that comes in for her, just like it's generally not the first thing that comes in for me. Does that make sense, everybody? I hope so.
Yes.
So, but yeah, guys, I hope everybody learned a little something. Thank you guys for submitting the questions. We appreciate it, and we hope that it has been helpful.
Yep. Sorry. Yeah, I know we asked them in short notice and you guys really delivered, so thank you.
Yeah, and we like to do this like once a quarter, at least a year, like every 3 months to 4 months, or at least twice a year. Because we always have new people coming through that may have questions, and we are happy to help as we grow and do multiple more projects and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes we run low on time because we have families or animals or just a lot of things going on. So we like to give you guys the opportunity to ask some questions and get a little bit of our answers, aka our perspective.
Mm-hmm. Faux shizzle.
My
But don't
nizzle.
but don't forget to get well, don't get down with the sickness because nobody wants to be sick. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish that was royalty free so I could play it.
I know, right? It sucks. There's a lot of changes coming to YouTube, I've heard. But yeah, guys, if you don't mind and you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it out, even if it's just a copy, because it counts. YouTube has been running smaller channels through the ringer lately, and they're not really pushing content, and that's across the board. It's not, and even bigger channels, I've noticed. I've actually heard bigger YouTubers talk about how the views have just dropped, and on my homepage, I'm getting a bunch of stuff I'm not even interested in. If I look up one thing that's a little off cue of what I normally look up, it's the whole homepage. And I'm getting videos from like a year ago that I've already watched too. So I don't know what you've done, YouTube, but it would be fantastic if you would continue to push our videos out to the public so we can share knowledge with the people that are searching for it. And thank you.
Yes. End
But
of
yeah,
our
guys,
TED Talk.
I know, right? But yeah, guys, you can always find mine and Emily's information in the description box. Again, there's link inception. You have both of our link trees. We both have different projects and things going on. We both have different channels. This is just our collab channel. So yeah, you can always look, and we do services. We do provide services, so you can find that at our link trees. We always have that there. But that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Do you have any merch yet on your channels? You have it on
Yeah.
our Appalachian Nightmare.
You bought a t-shirt. Oh, I see what you're wearing now. Yeah, that's cute.
Yo, I made so many jerseys out of so I did my ghost one with my logo. It's on my website, by the way. You can only get it there.
That's
And
cute.
I love it so much. I have the mushroom one I showed you.
Yeah,
It has my name on the back and then 444.
nice.
But yeah.
Damn. We gonna have to I gotta get on that website because their stuff's a lot cooler. It just sucks you can't hook it up to YouTube.
I know. I don't like that you can't hook it up to YouTube. I should put a personal complaint into YouTube and be like, not that they'll read it, but be like,
Yeah.
hey, you need to merge with Printful, please. Okay,
I
thanks.
know. Bah humbug.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, give us some video ideas. We will do a reaction video here soon because we know most of the people that are probably here are wanting the reaction videos. We are taking a break. It's something me and Emily have been talking about for a while because we prefer this kind of content, but we know that you all like the other content. But it is a lot of work for me and Emily to do that type of content because of the way we do it. And that way we're not playing the whole video and the videos are an hour or too long. God forbid if we ever did a paranormal files video because we'd be there for 4 hours and probably DEAD by the end. So yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
just bear with us. We've had a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes in multitude of ways. But yeah, so if you're new here and you found us through a reaction video, just know these types of videos that we've been doing lately is our origin. That is why we do what we do for the paranormal and spiritual community. This is where we've been drawn to help people. And it's part of our life's purpose that we want to share with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
But yep. I think that's all I got.
Yep, so thank you guys so much for watching and stay tuned for our next video, hopefully next the week following. But yeah, see you guys soon and peace out.
Peace.
Peacing out for Chastity as well. Oh, you can't see my hand. Okay.
Hey, if you have a haunted story you want to share, you can email us at lightsatmidnightpodcast@gmail.com. Get in touch with us there. We'd love to hear from you. We really appreciate y'all hanging around and checking it out. And yeah, thank you so much. We are super excited to bring you some super awesome content. We really appreciate you guys checking us out.
Thank you to all that took the time to listen to this week's episode. Your support means the world to us. And remember, all of us have the ability to shine brightly and shed positivity even in the darkest of places. Stay safe, stay well, and light it up!